What's good, everybody? I hope everybody's doing well. I'm trying not to do as many driving videos, but people have been complaining about that. So I try to listen. Try to pay attention, but I'm driving for this one. So I want to impress upon you the desire and the strive for mental freedom. And by what I mean by mental freedom is getting to that place where you are happy within yourself, where you define happiness for yourself. You know, I put up a picture before, and I'll put it up again, of a picture my kids sent me when I was about to turn 50. You know, the cool dad outfit, which coincidentally I'm wearing right now. Right? So this, I mean, it touched me so much because they understood that, you know, where I wanted to be, where I want to go, the way my thought process is, and all that. And I would like to say I want to press that upon you. You can take it or leave it. You can listen or not listen, whatever. But, you know, people don't understand the certain amount of mental freedom that happens when you enter a certain place in life. And I'm not talking about physical age. I'm not talking about you know, certain, even economics. I'm talking about whatever that means to you and your happiness within yourself, by yourself, with yourself. And there's nothing more beneficial than that. I got to talk about my own story because I don't know your story, but you got to apply this to who and to what you are, and make the most and best of the time that you have here on planet Earth. You have to make the most and the best of the time that you are given in order to make things happen. And I would say, listen, stop with all this consumerism. Stop with all this trying to impress other people. You know, as I record this, I am just getting over an injury that I had to my foot. And, you know, I posted a picture on my community tab of me on a motorcycle, on a bike. It was a Bowflex bike, if anybody's asking. And somebody wrote in there, you know, you got to upgrade to a Peloton. I mean this is no shade to the author of the post. I really don't mean any shade to this. But the question is, you know, why do we think this way? Why do we think this way, right? We are enslaved to a certain type of consumerism, a type of keep up with the Jones-ism. We are consumed with that type of stuff. And I'm saying we gotta free ourselves from that type of consumerism, that type of that way of thinking. When African enslaved people were freed, one of the things that they did was they prided themselves in small little trinkets, the teaspoons, the you know, watches, clocks, you know, any type of thing that they could take from their former enslaved people, or the things that they could now work to afford to buy for themselves. And I don't think that type of consumerism type of thinking has really left, in particularly our community. So I just want you to think about that and really try to free yourself from that. Again, I'm probably going to release this around Christmas time, or as we gear up for the holiday season. And my kids and I, we're more than likely, what we're talking about right now as I record this, you know, going on vacation rather than exchanging gifts, because gifts are so transitory to things and stuff and all that. So we're like, oh, let's just build some memories and go on vacation. I'm totally with it, right? That is the most important thing. Quality time spent is the most important thing. So free yourself from the mental consumerism and all that. So I was watching in my preparation to do my own traveling, which I still plan to do once I get over some stuff and these injuries that I got going on. And I was watching a channel, and this lady had talked about, she was a British lady, and she had retired to Belize. And at first she's walking around Belize, like, you know, notice that people were all wearing the same thing. Essentially, the locals there were all wearing the same type of clothing, right? And people often say that the Belize food is good, but it's always the same thing. It's rice and beans. And she wasn't used to that. She was a corporate person in England, Great Britain, wherever she was. And so she had red bottom shoes, and she was, you know, top of the line. And when she got to Belize, first she was extremely uncomfortable. Then after a few months, she got rid of her red bottom shoes and she started dressing like everybody else. She was just like everybody else. And so she had to realize, listen, you know, the mental freedom that she had gotten, that she no longer had to buy these red bottom overly priced shoes. So I'm just trying to get people to come to that point of view. When I got my degree, I got this job. I talked about it, right? And after a few months, I'm like, listen, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I got to live for myself. I want to leave my own legacy. I don't want to be buying. Sometimes I don't think we don't think about the cost of having a job. It sounds counterintuitive, but think about the cost of having a job. The money you have to transport yourself to and from that job, whether it's public transportation or whether it's your own personal car. You got to pay a car note. You have to put oil and gas and make sure it's maintained and all to get you reliably to there. I know. I met a brother the other day who was working at a university. This dude was living in one state and traveling to his other state, which was a good 10-hour drive. And he would go home every so often. This is this is the cost of having a job and the mental freedom. That's why a lot of people enjoyed the mental freedom. They enjoyed the mental freedom when they were working from home and people didn't want to return back to the office. But the offices, for various reasons, corporate people for various reasons said you got to go back to work. Mostly because they're paying all these. They want the tax dollars, right? So I'm sure the government put the pressure on these corporations to get these people back to the office, because we need these tax dollars and all that. So listen, the mental freedom that comes from that, the mental freedom from being able to travel, I'm saying strive for mental freedom. Create your own. Try to get a hobby or skill that can pay the bills online, something you enjoy. Try to turn your hobby into a career as a secondary side hustle that can become a primary side hustle, or not even side hustle, just your main way of living. Back to the job that I took. I quit the job and the guy's like, oh, what can we do to make this? I'm like, listen, I appreciate you asking, but I just can't. I want to focus on my own personal business, which was true, obviously true. I did want to focus on my own personal consulting business, but there's nothing like the mental freedom. I had gone from being retired, teaching online, doing my own consulting business, going on vacation when I want, stopping to drive to another city to get a burger if I felt like it, stopping to cook, to mandatory meetings. And since that time, they've asked me to teach more at that school and other schools that I teach at have asked me to teach online on campus. But there's nothing to me than mental freedom. And people who are in that place in life don't understand it and can't really imagine what it's like. I don't have to worry about buying new clothes all the time. I don't have to worry about what type of car I'm driving, trying to impress other people. I don't have to worry about, I told you about the red bottom. That's why I brought up the red bottom shoes and the Peloton bike. I don't have to impress anybody. My Bowflex, which costs I think it was less than half of a Peloton, gets the job done. Your car, whether you're driving a Honda or a Lexus or a Telluride or whatever you name the high priced car, a Beamer, or Audi, whatever, get you from point A to point B. Now you can enjoy the ride, clearly, surely. And listen, I understand guilty pleasures. I understand you want to live that way. I'm just talking about mental freedom. This message is for you. It's not for you. It's for you. If it's not, it's not. Some people, like it. I met a young lady one time. She's like, listen, I like my luxury cars. Every 2 years I get a luxury car. And listen, I ain't got no smoke for that. But I am choosing for mental freedom. I went through something that was going on in my life when I was 45. Had a medical emergency, and I'm looking at life differently. So don't feel ashamed or embarrassed because you don't drive a certain type of car or because you want to do something else. I did all the suits as a member of my internal affairs. Even when I was in church, right? There's always this pressure to dress up for these different occasions. That was the black church we came from. I sit back and I enjoy life. You guys can run the rat race if you want. Speaking of the rat race, right? It was the mouse utopia experiment that we're living in real life now. Right? There was a group of mice in that mouse utopia experiment. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Who were well groomed, who were chilling, didn't get into fights, and they just enjoyed life. They went to the food bowl, enjoyed life, and then went back. Now, certainly, human beings are much more complicated than mice. I get it. I'm saying just enjoy this life. That's my point. Enjoy this life. Enjoy it every single day. Enjoy your kids. Enjoy your spouse. Enjoy your girlfriend, your boyfriend. Enjoy your car. And don't be pressured into buying things that you can't afford, to taking up classes that you can't afford, to doing something you can't do, to impress other people. And for what? I probably said this on other shows, and I'll say it on other episodes, I should say. I'll say it again. There was a preacher I had gone to see years ago in Chicago, and his brother said, impress you, and for what? You don't pay my rent, you don't pay my car, you don't pay my groceries. Why do I have to impress you? So that stuck in my mind, that I need to stop trying to impress people. And it takes a long time, because we live in a world where you have to impress people. But I'm saying that if you can get into a place, into a mental space where you no longer have to impress people, you no longer have to dress up in order to be impressive or whatever synonym I could use in that word for impressing you, if I don't have to do that anymore, my job, my career, my job, my career, my house, the community I live in, the member and organization I live in, because at the end of the day, at the end, and I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm not saying you shouldn't. You have to totally ignore it, because it's important. You want to go up in the world. You got to play the game. But I think that while you're playing the game, you ought to be planning your exit strategy from the game. You ought to be doing what it takes, educating, whether that's education, building your career, buying property, investing stocks, starting a side hustle, whatever it is. You ought to be planning your escape from that situation, because people have suffered heart attacks, strokes, all because of pressure, all because of trying to keep up with the Joneses, all because they've gone broke, buying new houses, new cars, and all this kind of stuff, being in debt. For what? If you got a bachelor's degree, and you going into debt, $70,000 in debt to get a master's degree, to get a $5,000 a year raise, $5,000 a year raise. You got to ask yourself what we're doing. You got to ask ourselves, what are we doing? So I just want to impress this on you, just give you something to think about. Enjoy your mental freedom. Strive for mental freedom from the corporations, from the opinions of other people, and just be yourself, love yourself, and keep going on, keep striving on for that. So I just want to drive that. So stop trying to impress people and enjoy your mental freedom and plan mental freedom and stability. Much love and peace.